On page 683, while talking about how to spend life, here is what Da Vinci wrote. O sleepers, what a thing is slumber! Sleep resembles death. Ah, why then dost thou not work in such wise as that after that thou mayest retain a resemblance to perfect life, when during life thou art in sleep, so like to the hapless dead? If you have a problem understanding 15th century English, what Da Vinci wrote can easily be translated to mean, sleep is for losers. Da Vinci believed that sleep is for losers, and legend has it that while painting his famous masterpiece, the Mona Lisa, he was living off of only 2 hours of sleep a day. The kick against sleep didn't start or end with Da Vinci. More than 2,400 years before Da Vinci, Solomon had written, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." When the 18th century French military leader Napoleon Bonaparte was asked how many hours of sleep people need, he is said to have replied, 6 for a man, 7 for a woman, 8 for a fool. And because Napoleon considered himself not a man but a god, he reportedly went days, sometimes without sleeping. In his autobiography, one of America's founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, wrote, "How much more than necessary do we spend in sleep, forgetting that a sleeping fox catches no poultry, and that there will be sleeping enough in the grave." While many of the historical figures who kicked against sleep had some medical conditions that prevented them from adequate sleep, many of them were just ignorant about the importance of sleep, and it's not their fault, you know. I mean, why sleep? Why waste the time? Why should humans be dead 8 hours every day? It doesn't make sense, does it? But by 1845, scientists started studying the importance of sleep. In 1845, a British doctor named John Davy studied the connection between body temperatures and sleep patterns. Then a French researcher, Henri Pierron, published a book titled The Psychological Problem of Sleep. This marked the first time in human history when sleep and rest were studied as a health issue. In the following years, sleep research blossomed as a rich field for scientists. Constantin von Economo, a Romanian neurologist, went on to identify the hypothalamus as the area of the brain responsible for regulating sleep cycles. In 1924, a German psychiatrist named Hans Berger became the first to record electroencephalogram EEG wave patterns produced by the brain and study the difference between sleep and wakefulness. In 1956, Professor Charles Sidney Burwell identified the condition now known as obstructive sleep apnea. In 1958, Dr. Aaron Lerner discovered melatonin, the hormone responsible for regulating sleep-wake cycles. Dr. Carlisle Smith researched rats and found the REM sleep is imperative to learning and recollection. I mean, by the end of the 20th century, we have known enough about sleep to have made it a criminal offense for anyone who speaks against it. But no, up till today, everywhere you look, there's always a motivational speaker who tells you that the reason why you're poor is that you sleep 8 hours every day.
Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass was asleep. The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
Dear Mr. Harvey, science tells me that I need to sacrifice 8 hours of my life every day to make the remaining 16 hours function well. In his 2017 book, Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker, an English scientist and professor of neuroscience who studied the impact of sleep on human health for many years, wrote, "The recycling rate of a human being is around 16 hours. After 16 hours of being awake, the brain begins to fail. Humans need more than 7 hours of sleep each night to maintain cognitive performance." But no, science is wrong.
And I'm here to tell you today, if you're going to be successful, you've got to be willing to give up sleep. You got to be willing to work off for 3 hours of sleep, 2 hours. If you really want to be successful, some days you're going to have to stay up 3 days in a row. Because if you go to sleep, you might miss the opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, you're lazy if you sleep well at night. Real people who are going to be successful don't sleep at all. Because the idea of sleep is still being associated with laziness, modern people still kick against sleep, even with numerous scientific evidence about the importance of sleep. According to the Sleep Health 2015 publication, only 31% of Americans report consistently obtaining sufficient sleep. For about 70% of modern humans, sleep is for losers. But that's not what science says. In his 1999 book, The Promise of Sleep, William C. Dement, who had been studying sleep since the 1950s, wrote, "Sleep deprivation is the most common brain impairment, meaning if there's any easy way to destroy your brain, it's by sleeping less than 7 hours a day." In this study, published in 2019 by Nature.com, 100 students and their sleeping habits were studied, and here is what the researchers found. Better quality, longer duration, and greater consistency of sleep correlated with better grades. The study also found that sleep measures accounted for nearly 25% of the variance in academic performance. While some uneducated motivational speakers tell you that you need to forget sleep to be productive or successful, science actually says the opposite. According to a study of 4,188 U.S. workers published in 2010 Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, the more and better quality sleep you have at night, the more productive you'll be in the day. The reason is that sleep has a lot to do with your cognitive function, your memory, your concentration, your emotion, or even your health. Laboratory experiments on the effects of sleep deprivation have shown that failing to get enough sleep dramatically impairs memory and concentration, while increasing levels of stress hormones and disrupting the body's normal metabolism. According to a 2012 analysis of 24 studies, people who sleep less have less strength for problem solving and experience poorer memory capacity. According to sleepfoundation.org, without sleep, the brain struggles to function properly. Because they don't have time to recuperate, neurons become overworked and less capable of optimal performance in numerous types of thinking. When motivational speakers advise you to sleep only 5 hours so you can achieve success, what they're telling you is that it is okay to be alive for 19 hours, even if your brain isn't functioning properly. Thinking you need to sleep less because you have a lot to achieve is like saying, "I have so many appointments and business meetings that I don't have the time to get gasoline to my car." Don't you care about your testicles?
Men who sleep 5 hours a night have significantly smaller testicles than those who sleep 7 hours or more.
Okay, let's get serious here. After studying sleep and genetics for more than 20 years, the Taiwanese-American biologist and human geneticist Dr. Ying-Hu Fu said the importance of sleep is secondary only to water and air. In his 2017 book, The Sleep Solution, American sleep researcher W. Chris Winter wrote, "Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness. In other words, sleep is not a light switch in your brain that is either on or off. Your body is doing amazing things at night while you sleep." And that's what anti-sleep movements don't understand. Sleeping well isn't laziness. Your brain and body doesn't switch off when you sleep. Instead, they are doing great work to keep you healthy, strong, and alive. For example, analysis of over more than 100 years of research has established the fact that while we sleep, our brain stores the day's memory. There are pronounced changes in the electrical activity of the brain during sleep, which the evidence suggests is as a result of the brain's trillions of nerve cells literally rewiring themselves. This rewiring, which happens during sleep, slow wave sleep actually, is how we process and thus able to retain new information we may have learned throughout the day. While sleeping, our bodies repairs itself. Our heart rate and body temperatures drop, our breathing rate slightly decreases and becomes very regular, and kidney functions slows down. Our muscles repair damage and regular wear and tear from the day. This is the reason why people who are sleep deprived have a weaker immune system. According to this WebMed article, people who are sleep deprived are more likely at the risk of heart disease, heart attack, heart failure, irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, stroke, and diabetes. In a 2007 study of 10,000 people, those with insomnia were 5 times as likely to develop depression. And even a single night of poor sleep can destroy your mood for the entire day. Now, you know why your workaholic boss is never happy. I mean, why do you advise me to sleep 5 hours a day when that would lead me to having a weak brain, weak emotion, weak body, and even shorter life? Yes, if you don't sleep well, you might die 7 to 10 years earlier than usual. After analyzing data from 16 studies involving more than 1.5 million participants, scientists found that people who sleep well live longer.
Lack of sleep will age a man by a decade.
So, let's do simple math. Let's say Mr. A sleeps the recommended 7 to 8 hours every night, while the workaholic Mr. B sleeps 5 to 6 hours every night. That means Mr. B saves 730 hours every year. If he does this for 30 years, that will be 21,900 saved hours. But science says Mr. A is likely to live 10 years longer than Mr. B. So Mr. A has additional 58,400 hours of daytime. I failed math in primary school, but I think $58,000 is more than double of $21,000. The irony of sleep is that sleeping more actually helps you to accomplish more. Because